So this film is a really interesting case study in how awful horror filmmaking has become. The original Blair Witch Project was one of the best and most original horror films ever, and is like the lowest budget, highest profit film of all time. And this sequel was maybe the worst, forget horror film, the worst thing I've ever seen with my eyes. The original Blair Witch Project was filmed with improvisational actors that answered an ad that simply stated, "An improvised feature film, shot in a wooded location. It is going to be hell and most of you reading this shouldn't come." Directors sent 3 actors on a genuine 8-day hike, and they had to stay in character for the duration, film everything they could, and follow seemingly arbitrary GPS coordinates sent to them by the directors. The actors were told almost nothing about the plot progression, just that it was about a witch that haunted a wood, and were given little further direction throughout the film other than that. Thus, when the actors hear the sound of children crying in the middle of the night, they genuinely freak out. Since they had no idea it was happening or what to expect afterwards, from 2 directors and a crew they didn't know from a bar of soap. The direction they did receive came in the form of slips of paper that said delightful things like, "Take the camera and find a spot near the tent, and basically say goodbye to everyone you love, you're going to die." Over the period of 8 days, they got next to no sleep, were given progressively less food and cigarettes, were constantly woken up in the middle of the night by the directors messing with them. The characters seemed to have genuine fights along their 8-day hike, and had to film the whole thing. But the directors of the new Blair Witch movie didn't need any complex directorial advice to give to their actors to get them to express legitimate fear on screen. It just came natural to them. Really good stuff. Really good. Huh. So just like a lot of the movies that I've been reviewing lately, this movie shot itself in the face at point-blank range within the first couple of minutes. The protagonist James is watching YouTube footage of a woman running through an abandoned house that I guess was supposed to be the same one as the original Blair Witch film, but totally wasn't. At this point, I'm assuming that you've seen the original Blair Witch Project, but if you haven't, please click out of this and go watch it. The guy that uploaded the footage apparently found some extra tapes in the woods in like 2015, 20 years after the original crew went missing. And apparently these tapes weren't totally decimated from exposure, and somehow they were uploaded to the internet. So this guy James is the brother of Heather, who's one of the protagonists out of the original Blair Witch Project movie. Now James, although he didn't know Heather from a bar of soap because he would have been 3 or 4 when she went missing, is keen to go out into the woods based on blurry footage of a woman who I think clearly does not look like Heather. Again, the footage is really too blurry to tell with any certainty, but I would have thought based on the fact that the house is clearly not the same one from the original film, he would not think somehow that that was his sister. I mean, I'm assuming since he's so obsessed with finding his sister and the Blair Witch legend in general, that he would have at some point watched the original film and realized, oh wait, the new footage is definitely shot in a different house from the first film. Also, the scene at the end of the original Blair Witch Project that was shot inside the house was shot in one take. Literally the whole time that Heather was in the building, the camera was rolling. Therefore, the footage they found that was spliced together to make the original Blair Witch Project film was all that there was to find, at least regarding the house at the end of the film, which is all that there is on the apparently newly found footage anyway. So I thought, okay, they just weren't permitted to use any of the footage from the original, even though they're using the same name and claiming it as a sequel. Even though there's already been a bad sequel that's completely ignored by this sequel. But wait, they do use footage from the original film in the new one. Except they edited a terrible growl over the top of the footage that definitely was not in the original to make it edgy and scary and a bit more accessible to this generation's apparently lack of any sort of attention span whatsoever. So the footage was definitely not of Heather in the original house. It was clearly someone else, not just based on the fact that clearly the physical characteristics didn't match up, but based on the fact that it is a different house. And obviously there wasn't any issue with them using footage of the original film because they already did it, even though they had their chance to make it cool and link it up perfectly, but they put a growl over the top and made it terrible. But putting aside the fact that they've already shot themselves in the face a bunch of times already in this film, how do they think that they're going to find Heather after 20 years? So basically every line of dialogue in this film was about the cheapest exposition I've ever seen in a movie, period. Yeah. Don't know what a search alert is, but they really haven't wasted any time trying to explain away the bullshit that doesn't make sense already about this film 1 minute 35 in. And that's including opening credits. The writers obviously knew that this plot made little to no sense, and viewers would immediately have questions.
Okay, so try on that earpiece camera.
Ear camera. That's a new one. I like it. I like it a lot.
The cool thing about these is they've got built-in GPS.
Ah, useful. Built-in GPS. That'll help you out.
We just have to make sure we remember to switch out the cards.
Yeah, don't forget to switch out the cards. In fact, now that you've said that, you don't have to show yourself switching out any cards whatsoever. You've really done enough, like, explaining. Just, you can take a break now. So, they go and meet up with the YouTubers that uploaded the video to YouTube, and they're fucking racists. Then they go hiking, and we learn quickly that the ear cameras are never in the place that it makes sense for them to be, and I'm pretty sure they're just Bluetooth headsets and not actual fully functioning high-definition cameras. And soon we learn that hair obstructing the ear cameras doesn't stop them functioning normally. Ear cameras. Ear scope. Cameras that go in your ear. No ear cameras yet. Look in my ear. In-ear headphones. Look, I'm just not finding anything about ear cameras whatsoever. I guess they invented them for the film. Oh. Okay, Bluetooth earpiece camera. I found one. I apologize for the misinformation. It turns out they do exist. We're not yet halfway through this review, so you can get a refund at the door if you're unhappy with your service. My apologies. Fuck, they look stupid though. This is a public service announcement to all directors of found footage films. If you're going to have actors who are usually trained, although not in this case, but usually trained in acting and not cinematography, teach them how to use a fucking camera and hold it still. Ugh, I feel sick.
Okay, so this is
Well, there's one thing this film has done that no other film has managed before. It has managed to make me feel car sick. I'm just gonna get a bucket. Stop moving the camera! What are you doing? Stop moving the camera! What's going on? Film properly! That's not a shot! What are you doing? So the first night they tell ghost stories around the campfire about how the witch was killed. And not only were the stories not included in the original movie, they actively contradict what was set up by the original movie. So that's good. Great, now we're gonna have to deal with a fucking witch with long-ass arms and legs. So in the original Blair Witch Project, a woman they spoke to that saw the witch suggested the witch's feet never touched the ground and she was covered in thick hair. Also, they suggest that you can't look directly at the witch, but that flies in the face of the original film where people actually reported seeing the original witch and survived to talk about it on film in the original. So the racist couple that found the footage put up all those stick things from the original up around their tents to make the others convinced that something was going on and make them want to investigate. But they all decide to cancel their plans and go home. So they walk a bit, get lost, kick the weird couple out of the group when they find out about the hoax they did, and then continue on without them. Also, there is a shit ton of fake jump scares all through this movie, one after the other. Almost an intolerable amount of fake jump scares.
Oh, a jump scare! That one got me! Great. Oh, I'm looking forward to more of those. Ah. Another jump scare. The standard of horror movies is such that I think I could actually make a half decent one. Yeah, why don't I make like the trequel? I should make the trequel to the Blair Witch movie, continuing on the trajectory of how awful every remake seems to be compared to the last. Yeah, I should do that. Let's do it.
Aren't you forgetting a part of this?
So this is my brother. Someone found footage of him in a forest, and I'm gonna go look for him. I'm not gonna forget to change the cards. I'm gonna film everything here on my nostril cam. I really miss my big brother. Is that enough?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, there we go. It's up! It's stuck up there! Cool, it whistles. I swallowed it. Fuck, what do? That was expensive. That was fucking expensive. I'm gonna try vomit it up. I tried to vomit it up, but it didn't work. What the fuck am I gonna do? I guess I'll just have to wait like a day or two to pass it, right? Fuck. Hey, fuck, get it! I told you not to film this part. Well, we're ready to go on the hike. Retrieve my nose camera there. We're just about to head. Are you sure you cleaned this? So there's this completely pointless subplot that begins with one of the crews like stepping on a rock while crossing a river, and everyone is scrambling to film it for some reason. I don't know why. To the point where the woman's partner has to tell them to back off. And as the film goes on, her foot starts making all these really loud, out-of-place cracking noises.
I'll go get Jay.
Ooh, we should get that looked at. And by that I mean the sound editing in this film. So she gets progressively sicker until her husband sees something moving in her foot and proceeds to do nothing about it. It gets worse until she basically can't walk and has a fever. Then she runs off into the forest, picks a scab off her leg, and heaps of pus comes out. Then she pulls this giant thing out of her leg, and for the life of me I couldn't figure out what the hell it was. Is that a fish? Is this some kind of frog? What the fuck is that? Is that a handkerchief? What? What was it about the original mythos that made them want to put that in the film? There's literally nothing that alludes even slightly to weird river parasites crawling under your skin. It's not even supernatural. Why the fuck is it even in this film? It didn't help advance the plot. If an injury was necessary, it didn't have to result in a fucking snake being pulled out of her leg. Then a minute after not being able to walk, she's climbing a fucking tree.
Anyway, going back in the film a bit, the crew realize they're pretty lost, and like direction and GPSing aren't a thing because it'd make this film too easy. The writers of this film managed to channel organized religions and explain everything that doesn't make sense down to an omnipotent, transcendent god. Except this time it's a witch that can do whatever she wants. So here we have the forest that we're going to in this movie. I mean, real life thing. This is the Blair Witch Forest, was that what it was called? Mm-hmm. Blair Witch Forest? Legend says that a witch with 100 legs lives here. She can do whatever she wants, even if it doesn't make any sense. She can bend time. She just... whatever. She can do whatever. If you want to shoot a really shit movie with a loose plot line that doesn't really make any sense, come and shoot it in here with this witch. It's really worthwhile, because you really don't have to think about the plot of your movie, because if the witch can do whatever, then the writing does it for itself. This isn't clean. Oh, dude. This is bad. I don't know, the smell won't go away. I don't know what it is. Smells better though. Oh god. I feel like I'm lost. I feel like the lens is like facing down when I have my head normal, so I have to like have my head up to get any like shots of anything, or else it's just like my feet. The whistle's good though. Is there anything we could do to make it so that it doesn't just shoot the ground? Yeah, just really good idea. That really works. Really happy with that. Now I feel like you're in my shots. Just sick of filming your feet, you know. Now I really feel like I'm just like eye level with you and I'm just getting you on film now. So that's really good. Good idea. I'm just gonna set up my tent now. So I haven't really tented much before. Do you have any tips? So you just like... Tell me when I'm going wrong. Tell me when I do it wrong. Is this how it goes? Am I tenting? I feel like I'm a natural bush ranger. So the racist couple ends up finding them again, and the dude is like, "They'll be here forever." And then he storms off into the bush, leaving his partner. And then she just stays with the rest of the group, I guess. Now there are legit stick people up around them, and one of the crew snaps one and breaks the woman's back. I feel like if the original Blair Witch Project was a sleekly designed, fully functioning website, then this sequel was one of those early ones with all the flashy bullshit everywhere. So if in the original you have a witch that pushes down trees, which was actually quite a scary effect, right? Trees falling down in the forest, especially when you knew that the actors had no idea what was going on. If you had that in the first one, then what you need in the flashy bullshit early 90s website version of this film is a witch that uses a chainsaw to chop down trees. So after the backbreaking scene that I had to watch 3 times to figure out exactly what the hell was going on, just to up the ante in this film, tents go flying everywhere. My tent's broken, I don't know. Slightly more functional one here. You're waiting for this to hit me in the face again, aren't you? Ow! Oh. Oh, I just swallowed the camera. The comedy of my channel's really gone downhill, hasn't it? It's just me struggling with the fucking tent the whole time. Great.
Just slapstick now.
So before, when the couple comes up, they talk about the fact that 5 days have passed for them and only 2 for the other group. I feel like this is the time where the film reached peak.
Whatever, I do what I want.
Completely ignoring all the established rules in the known scientific universe because there's a witch somewhere that gives them passage to do whatever the fuck they want. Even the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy had rules that it had to abide by.
Hey, I'm kind of hungry. Could you go inside, inside the forest and find me something to eat?
Yeah, I guess so.
Thanks. Cheers. There's cereal in the pantry! Oh my god, where have you been? It's been a fucking week!
A week? How would your phone still be working?
Oh, I ate my fucking hat, dude! Maybe the witch keeps it going, I don't know, there's no rules to anything, the universe hates us, what the fuck? Give me the food! I'm fucking starving! I'm so fucking dry! I'm so dry! It's so dry!
Yeah, so after saying, "You're just as I remembered you" to a protagonist in the house at the end, implying that this guy had been in the forest a hell of a lot longer than 3 days, he lifts up his camera and is still filming somehow. The whole premise of the movie is based on the fact that this guy has been filming for like months, if not years, without changing batteries or running out of SD cards. So after that, there's just a whole bunch of nauseating footage, and I'm pretty sure I heard a chainsaw chopping down trees in there somewhere.
This is a bit gross. Look what I found. I found the camera. That's great news. Let's load the footage. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh god. Oh my god! What the fuck? There is a lot of this footage on here. We should have thought of that.
So they find the house much like they do in the first film, and they're running through the hallways. James finds a bed with poo on it, I think. And the witch is chasing them. Time is doing whatever the fuck it wants, apparently. We see the witch, and she has long-ass arms, not stretched with rocks like they suggested, but like her bones are just long as well, and she has functioning elbows as opposed to all her shit being dislocated. She wasn't covered in hair or levitating like the first film suggested she'd be. That racist guy comes up and pushes the woman into a hole, and she has to crawl through this tunnel, and then she gets stuck. And the camera gets covered in mud and hair, but they're still filming and functioning perfectly. Also, kudos for being in the shittiest situation ever and still thinking of getting a nice shot for the trailer by throwing the camera through mud and having it perfectly focused and facing you. Oh wait, no, sorry, this movie's real life. I forgot. And according to James at the start of the film, those tunnels under the house were meant to be part of an underground railroad system. Generally speaking, if a person will get stuck in a tunnel and it has no tracks in it, probably not ready to run a train through it just yet. I guess the house is meant to be confusing and you get lost in it, much like the plot of this film, which had me bleeding from my ears trying to think through what the fuck went wrong with it, because what comes next finishes off this sinkhole of a horror film. So get this. The footage shown on YouTube at the start was filmed by this same woman in the future. The footage that was on the camera that hadn't run out of film or battery for possibly years while this guy was in this timeless void created by the witch. Also remembering that this guy died by being stabbed when the woman grabbed the camera off him. Not sure how he retrieved the footage after that to put it on YouTube, but I guess the witch works in mysterious ways.
Oh, does that look like cancer to you? Oh, God.
So this appears on the surface to be strategic so that James will find the footage and get in contact with him, thinking it was his own sister, which it obviously wasn't and totally couldn't have been. But forgetting that James wasn't a real person and was just a plot device, I guess it's plausible that this guy edited the film so that James was cut out of it so he wouldn't see himself and realize the paradox and huge plot hole that this film is based on, but also so that he would come and visit him and maybe go into the forest to find his sister, and there this racist couple could do what they want under the bidding of the witch, I guess. But if the racist guy had have actually reached out to James instead of James reaching out to him and invited him to his house, given him the alibi that he wouldn't take James and co to the house if he didn't let them stay for the whole hike, which is what happened, so that maybe they could lure these random people into the house for the witch and she could kill them, but I guess that would make too much sense. As well, if this racist couple had have been working for the witch, which might have made sense if you just consider that they hung up the stick things, but then you'd assume that they'd contact James and not the other way around, right? And if it wasn't for search alerts and James's weird assumption that that was his sister and totally not the woman that he was with who looks nothing like Heather, then you'd be right to assume that James would never have gotten in contact with this guy and they would have never gone on the hike. But then there's the fact that the stick things were found by the other crew without the couple being there. Not to mention that one of the stick figures snapping actually broke the woman's back. And because her hair was in it, she probably didn't do it herself. Why would she do that? Because now she's dead. So yeah, based on the fact that they both ended up getting killed while apparently serving the witch, I really don't think they were actually working for her. But then, why the hell was the online video seemingly edited purposefully to keep a close-up shot of Lisa's face and James's face out of it? That doesn't make any sense.
I'm gonna find my way out of this fucking place. Look, there's a house over there. Thank God the door's unlocked. Oh, food. Oh, it's so good. It's not. It's really bad. It's really bad. I just ate Vegemite. And it's burning. That is not made to be eaten like that. We're taking a break, sorry. I made a snap decision and it was bad. I didn't wash my mouth out. Give me a sec. So salty!
Wait, how have you already vomited this back up? At this point in time, you wouldn't have even done the camping bit yet.
So the protagonists slowly get picked off. They're facing the corner and trying not to look at the witch.
Mom, I told you I'm right for cordial! Face the fucking corner now!
Why?
Face the corner!
Okay.
Don't make fucking eye contact!
The witch imitates Heather's voice, and James turns around immediately and dies.
You want a cookie?
Yes, I would actually like a cookie. Oh, there it is. Oh, damn, I missed it again.
We're now accepting submissions of horror flash fiction under 1,500 words that will feature in a horror fiction podcast on the channel periodically. If you're interested in finding out more, there's a link in the description. Alternatively, if you've got a true paranormal story, we're putting together a segment compiling viewer-submitted ghost stories. Follow the link on the screen to an instructional video detailing how to submit your story.